Well, you guessed it. We're back in Romans chapter 1, verse 16, where Apostle Paul, speaking to the intellectual elite in Rome, said this: I'm not ashamed of the gospel, for it's the power of God unto salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and then to the Greek. And so what we're asserting here is that the gospel is Jesus, and that Jesus can meet every basic need of your life. Today we want to focus on the fact that Jesus can meet your need for joy, Joy, a thing that is often lacking in a lot of people's lives that follow Jesus. I try to put together a definition of joy, and I kind of like it, and I think it's worth your thinking about. Joy defined: it's the sense of well-being, knowing Jesus lives in your life. He's forgiven you of all your sin, past, present, and future. He's in control of your life and this crazy world we live in. In fact, I wrote, he is most in control when it seems he has lost control. And finally, you and I, if we have Christ in our lives, are bound for heaven. I don't know how it gets any better than that. So if I focus on him and who he is and what he's done for you and me, there will begin to be joy exuding from your life and from mine. I think many Christians, you don't see a whole lot of joy. Instead, I see grimness, seriousness, intenseness, uptightness. And I think sometimes those uptight people have got a little too much starch in their underwear. And they also, a lot of times, have a no face, a no face, not a yes face, but a no face. And so I think we're called to be advertisement, positive advertisers for Jesus. And joy is one of the great, great ways to advertise what Christ has done in and through my life. So let me just go over a couple things here to kind of open this up for us. Despite all the things, the suffering, the abuse that Jesus had to go through while he was here on the planet, he never lost his joy. If you look at John chapter 15, verse 11, this is what Jesus said about joy. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. And so what he's saying here is that when Jesus Christ invaded your life or my life, or when he does that, then he brings with it all the joy you and I will ever need. And so the question is, how do I get his joy? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment. I believe that literally it is a sign of spiritual sickness not to have joy. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of joy where it's kind of a Colgate smile and we fake it on the outside, but on the inside we're dying. No. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about Jesus's joy exhibited in my life, which has to get out if it's the real deal. One person said this: a pivotal Christian thinker of our time said, joy is the surest sign of the presence of God. One of my friends and favorite writers of all time said this, Bruce Larson: the bottom line for you and me is simply this: grimness is not a Christian virtue. There are no sad saints. If God really is the center of one's life and being, joy is inevitable. If we have no joy, we have missed the heart of the good news, and our bodies, as much as our souls, will suffer the consequences. Think about that one. Someone said, joy is the flag that flies over the castle of our hearts, announcing that the King is in residence. So what I've learned over the years is this: joy is real. Jesus is the source of joy. But I've got to be willing to choose joy. And I've got to stay hooked up to the source of joy and have that intimate moment by moment abiding relationship with Jesus Christ through my conversation with him and through his conversation with me through his word. So is that a reality in your life? Let me tell you, if you choose joy daily, you will begin to laugh again. Well, I've got to share this story with you as we close. A grandmother and granddaughter the very precocious 10-year-old, were spending the evening together when the little girl suddenly looked up and asked, "How old are you, Grandma?" The woman was a bit startled at the question, but knowing her granddaughter's quick little mind, she wasn't completely shocked. "Well, honey, when you're my age, you don't share your age with anybody." Go on, Grandma. You can trust me. No, dear, I never tell anyone my age." Grandmother got very busy fixing supper, and then suddenly she realized the little darling had been absent for about 20 minutes, much too long. She checked around the upstairs in her bedroom and found that her granddaughter had dumped the contents of her grandmother's purse on the top of her bed and was sitting in the midst of all the mess, holding her grandmother's driver's license up. When their eyes met, the child announced, "Grandma, you're 76." "Why, yes, I am. How'd you figure that out?" "Well, I found the date of your birthday here on your driver's license, subtracted that a year from this year, and so you're 76." "That's right, sweetheart. Your grandmother is 76." The little girl continued staring at the driver's license and added, "You also made an F in sex, Grandma." Can't hear you laughing, but I hope you are. Let me tell you this. Get yourself some Jesus and you'll get yourself some joy. You think about that.